This week on World Stories. China, the silence of the bees. Togo, a health system on life support. But first, to the Islamic Republic of Iran, where women often faced exclusion from participating in sporting events. But that hasn't stopped this team of female weightlifters from pushing their way to the top.
It's training time in this gym in western Tehran, where champions have pumped iron for decades. The weights are just as heavy as they look, yet for Elnaz and the other girls, lifting them is a dream come true.
My dad was a weightlifter. I've loved the sport ever since I was a child, and I watched every competition. So as soon as it was possible, I started lifting weights myself.
Elnaz is proud to continue the family tradition, and her passion has paid off. She's the strongest of the 4-girl team so far. The brains behind the girls' success has his office just 1 floor higher. Ali Moradi is president of Iran's Weightlifting Association and perhaps the girls' biggest fan. He says there shouldn't be a difference between men and women in his sport.
We have many Iranian men who have many championship titles and are record holders in the field of weightlifting. The world's strongest man right now is an Iranian. We want to achieve the same with our women. We hope that in the future, and not the far future, I'm talking about the Olympics of 2024, that the Iranian women can add to these glories.
To make that happen, the girls work hard every day. Just like the men, they live in the compound of the association, under close supervision by doctors and coaches. In just a few months, they have come a long way, but it's far from over.
They don't have any experience yet. Next year, they'll do very well in competitions for sure. For now, we just want them to build up confidence. After all, this is their first international competition.
Elnaz and the others are excited to leave Tehran for Uzbekistan. It's a historic first for the girls and for Iran's female weightlifters altogether.
What men can do, women can do too. In the first 5 or 6 months since we started weightlifting, we've already broken more than half of the women's weightlifting records. That's glorious.
A glory they plan to continue at this week's tournament and beyond. Confident, well prepared, and determined to show the world how strong Iranian women can be.
Global bee populations are on the decline, and China is especially affected. Many believe it's due to the widespread use of pesticides. DW went to find out how fruit growers are coming up with new ways to pollinate their trees.
When the cherry blossoms are out, it's time for Wu Qingyou to start work on something that's normally taken care of by nature. The farmer pollinates her trees by hand. It should be bees doing this work. But here in the Hanyuan region of southwest China, there simply aren't enough of the beneficial insects to go around. Our yields were simply too low. The trees were flowering well, but only produced a few fruits. Then we heard about hand pollination. We checked it out and then started doing it ourselves. Hand pollination is a painstaking task. First, farmers have to find flowers which have only just opened. The pollen dust has to be fresh and clean and removed very carefully. Wu and her husband, Zhang, pollinate each tree 3 times.
Nowadays, it's really hard work being a fruit grower. We have to spend a lot of time tending our trees.
Global bee populations are on the decline, and China is especially badly affected. Most regions no longer have any native varieties. The main problem is the widespread use of chemicals. In the district capital, Qingyou farmers come to Jiang Yongmao's store to stock up on fertilizers, herbicides, and insecticides.
We tell farmers not to spray during the flowering period, because then the bees won't go on the blossoms.
At all other times, though, the farmers happily spray away. On average, Chinese farmers use twice as many pesticides as their European counterparts. Meanwhile, beekeeping has become a profitable business here. Huang Baojun leases his bees to local farmers on a daily basis. He charges €5 per hive per day.
When farmers pollinate by hand, they only roughly distribute the pollen on the blossoms. Bees go right into the center of the flower and take the pollen exactly where it needs to go.
It sounds like easy cash, but Huang Baojun's bees need a lot of attention.
Next week they'll start spraying the apple trees. So I'll pack up my bees and take them to the forest, otherwise they'll die.
Wu Qingyou and her husband, though, don't want to spend money on renting bees. So instead, for the next 3 weeks, they'll be in their orchard, pollinating their trees by hand.
Making migrants or refugees undergo medical tests to determine their actual age has become a topic of heated debate in Germany. There are concerns older asylum seekers are just claiming to be minors to improve their chances of staying in the country.
How old is this refugee? Is he an adult or still a minor? Since fleeing Afghanistan, Ahmad Temori has already learned that his age plays an enormous role in Germany.
The traffickers told us refugees, if you are 20 or 21, then make yourselves younger, because it will be to your advantage. Then they cannot deport you.
German officials check the age of refugees if there are doubts about whether they are legal minors. There's a psychological interview and a medical exam. X-rays of wrist bones, of teeth, or CT scans of the collarbone. But critics say bone tests cannot precisely determine a person's age.
You cannot always determine a person's exact chronological age based on the age of his or her bones. There's a range that can span 1 to 3 years.
1 to 3 years can make a huge difference. Under 18-year-olds are assigned a guardian, help in the asylum process, and accommodation with the Youth Welfare Service. For refugees aged 18 and above, the initial conditions in shared accommodation are often much worse. Many must rely on their own devices. Ahmad Temori has never lied about his age. He's 24, has received political asylum, and is in a training program. But he knows many others who are pretending to be younger, hoping it will help them access help, education, and prevent them from being deported.
Hospital workers in Togo have been striking for better equipment and more staff. The public sector in this West African country is completely underfunded. DW got a look at what that means in one of the country's largest hospitals.
This child was diagnosed with malaria, but his high fever won't go away. He's been in the hospital for 2 weeks, and now his mother has run out of money for medicine. I don't have the funds. I went to a private clinic, but I soon ran out of money and we had to leave. Without money, they can't do anything. That's what they tell you. The only way I can buy medicine is if someone gives me money as a gift. I haven't eaten anything since this morning. Adeku's son Raphael needs to see a specialist, but the staff at Togo's biggest hospital is on strike. Only emergency treatment is available. David Dosse is one of the strike leaders and has already been arrested twice as a result. The doctor says he has no choice. He refuses to support a healthcare policy that he says is deplorable. We've been trained in a profession that's meant to cure people of disease. But at the moment, we can't save any lives. It's difficult. We are on strike to change the situation, which is very bad. We don't have enough staff or enough equipment. Most of the equipment in the state-run hospitals is antiquated. According to the communication minister, a commission has been appointed to deal with the healthcare crisis. We hope we can bring all sides together on this issue. The government has to take the overall economic situation into consideration and then decide which problems to address first. That's something Dr. David Dosse says he has heard all too often. It's clear that this is a government strategy to delay the process. What it communicates doesn't reflect reality. That's a shame. You get the impression that the government has different priorities than the concrete problems of the population. That's why Dr. Dosse and many of his colleagues say they have no other option than to earn their living in private clinics instead of the state-run hospitals. And it's those very clinics that offer treatment that's unaffordable to most Togolese, including Alice Adeku and her son Raphael.